I want you all to give a big round of applause for your headliner, the comic you're here to see. Give it up for Mr. Mike Moran!
One more time for Eric, everybody. Auto Bar, make some noise if you love all the comedians you've seen tonight. Make some noise if you love yourselves. Make some noise if you're afraid to love. Because you trusted someone. Because you trusted someone with your emotions, and they mistook kindness for weakness. And now you're a shell of a human being that feels neither joy nor suffering, Kara. What's going on? That was my Marvin Gaye impression. You know, I learned recently, this is true, Marvin Gaye actually changed the spelling of his name when he got famous. It was originally spelled G-A-Y, and he added an E on the end because he didn't want people to think he's gay. That's true. Isn't that ridiculous? Are people really going to judge you by what your last name sounds like? Like, my last name is Moran, which is just one letter away from moron, but I would never assume that that would make people think that I'm gay. Just to let you guys know, a lot of what I do has been labeled as alternative comedy, all right? Which means that if you don't laugh, it's not because I'm not funny, it's because you're not intelligent, all right? If you don't get something, it means it's a thinker, okay? No, that was always hurtful, though, when I was a kid and other kids would make fun of my last name and they'd call me, what would they call me? I think you were one of those kids, weren't you? Yeah, that always hurt my feelings, you know, because that's not just my name. That's my family's name. I mean, my grandfather came to this country literally with $14 in his pocket. Yeah, and $80,000 in his bank account. The man slaved away for years working in a factory, a cheesecake factory. And when he was called to serve and to fight for what was right, he went and fought in WWE. His wrestling name was the Whooping Cough. No, that was always one of those terms that confused me in history class back in school, you know, like WW2, not a wrestling federation, right? Another one, women's suffrage, exact opposite of what it sounds like, right? George Washington Carver, not the first presidential assassin. And most disappointingly, Underground Railroad, spoiler alert, you guys, not actually an Underground Railroad. Was I the only kid gravely disappointed to learn that the Underground Railroad wasn't a literal Underground Railroad? Are some of you just now learning that the Underground Railroad wasn't a literal Underground Railroad? I mean, don't get me wrong, what Harriet Tubman did was incredible. I mean, she escaped to freedom, and then she came back into enemy territory, and she got more slaves, and she took them to freedom, and she did it again and again and again. I have difficulty finding the strength to refill the ice cube trays after I use them. You know what I mean? Like, it's a triumph for me if I can put the toilet paper, like, on the roller instead of just resting it on top. You know, so I doubt anyone's going to be putting me on a $20 bill anytime soon. You guys excited about that news that Harriet Tubman's going to be on the 20? Give it up for that. That's pretty awesome, right? I'd love to be there the first time a Southern sympathizer has to purchase a Confederate flag. The Harriet Tubman 20. Be awkward. It's only fair, though. I mean, people of color have had to purchase everything with pictures of slave owners on them, right? Since forever, right? Like, all right, one copy of the autobiography of Malcolm X. That'll be 2 white supremacists and 1 racial separatist, please. Thank you. Thank you so much. And here's your change, 1 self-proclaimed Indian killer. Thank you. I just worry about putting Harriet in my wallet with all those racist founding fathers. And not just because Jefferson's probably going to try to impregnate her. No, but we tried that a few years ago with those. Do you remember those dollar coins with the Native Americans on them? And just like in real life, they just kind of disappeared after a little while, just once the founding fathers got involved. I don't know if you guys saw, there's kind of a debate raging online where one side was saying, why should Harriet Tubman be on a dollar bill? She wasn't a president. And then you had another side saying, well, Benjamin Franklin's on a dollar bill, and he wasn't a president. And then you have me saying, whoa, 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 whoa. Benjamin Franklin wasn't a president? Are we sure about that? He looks a lot like a president. Either that or a golden girl. What's next? Colonel Sanders was never president either? Come on. Guys, give it up for yourselves coming out here supporting this great local Baltimore comedy scene. Or as most people call it, trading for DC. Just kidding. No. I do love Baltimore. I love Baltimore. I just wish we had more Rite Aids, you know? But how does that work? Is the Rite Aid like the Starbucks of the ungentrified city? You know? I live right around here in a little neighborhood called Remington. Anybody here familiar with Remington? Yeah. Because I am going to need a ride home. If you guys know Remington, then you know what they say about Remington, right? Whatever happens in Remington sucks. It's not the best neighborhood. You know, it's really not. They recently put up a street mural in my neighborhood. That's never a good sign, is it? The more inspiring the street mural, the sketchier the neighborhood, right? Is that Mother Teresa releasing a white dove of peace? We're dead. We're dead. We're inspired, but we're also dead. I don't know if you noticed recently on public trash cans in Baltimore City, they started putting trash-only stickers. Finally! Been storing my valuables in public trash cans. So here's an interesting story I have about having attention deficit disorder. Let's see what else is going on. Guys, I've been paying attention. You have done an excellent job of staying off your phones tonight. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Because really, these days, as entertainers, that's really all our job is to just keep you from looking at your phone for a while, right? And that's difficult because that means my competition is the entire internet. And I can't compete with 10 years of TED Talks, right? I can't compete with the largest database of pornography ever amassed in human history. I mean, if you wanted to right now, you could just put in your earbuds, go to YouTube, find a better comedian than me, and just watch him or her. And I wouldn't blame you. But you're not doing that, so thank you guys. I appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah. It is crazy what technology can do these days, isn't it? Like, you ever have an app on your phone that you didn't even know you had until it saves your ass? Like the other day, I was driving and I found out I have an app on my phone that actually alerts me if I'm at a red light and I don't see that the light has turned green because I'm looking at my phone. My phone will alert me by setting off the horn of the car behind me. So, it's pretty cool. I am getting better with the technology. I don't mean to brag, but I did recently navigate the self-checkout at the grocery store with zero help from the attendant. Who's sorry now, ex-girlfriends? Because there are two types of people in this world, right? There's people that can handle the self-checkout, and there's people that are way too into celebrity gossip, right? I always think I can handle the self-checkout. I always screw it up because that weird robot voice will start asking me a bunch of weird questions like, do you have an item number to ring in? And why do humans love? I don't know how to answer that, you know? The attendant has to come over and help me. She sees all the viruses I accidentally downloaded from all the porn I was looking at. Oh, man. So I do feel bad that psychics can never enjoy a surprise party. I recently traced my genetic lineage at ChristianAncestry.com. Turns out I'm descended from Adam, so. Yeah, that's pretty cool, right? Which actually makes sense. You know, I said to myself, that makes sense because that's probably where I get my trust issues with women from. And my fear of snakes. And my ability to fillet myself. Missing a rib. Did you ever hear that stupid rumor in high school that some rock star had a rib removed so they could fillet themselves? Like that's a thing that rock stars do when they get too much money, you know? Like that's always part of the fall from grace behind the music rock star story. Like, yeah, I knew I was at rock bottom when I was down to 2.5 ribs. Missed the Grammys because I was at home performing oral sex on myself. Even had my knees surgically unhinged so I could put my toe in my butt. That's how far we have fallen tonight, guys. A toe in the butt. The Mike Moran story. This has been a bad year for rock star deaths, though, hasn't it? It's awful. I would like to think, though, that somewhere up in the sky, Bowie and Lemmy and Fife and Prince are not allowing Scott Weiland to jam with them. There's always that thing that kind of sets in when a rock star dies where we just remember the good things about them, which is natural. You remember like when Michael Jackson died, and literally within hours he went from being the thing that you tell your children is going to get them if they don't eat their vegetables back to being the king of pop. You remember that? It's only natural that we do that as humans. We remember the good things, but sometimes people take it too far. Like, did anybody see the Behind the Music with the Notorious B.I.G., the Biggie Smalls one? Anybody see that one? I love that show. At the end of it, Biggie's mentor, Puff Daddy, he looks into the camera and he says, I just want the world to know, not only was Biggie Smalls the greatest rapper of all time, he was also one of the greatest people of all time. Let's just stick to greatest rapper of all time, Puffy. Like, I'm sure he was a great dude, but I kind of doubt he's going to go down the annals of history as one of the greatest humans who ever lived. Right in between Nelson Mandela and Socrates, Like, I kind of doubt scholars in 200 years are going to be reading the lyrics to Big Papa, like, you've got a gun in your waist, please don't shoot up the place. Why? Because I see some ladies tonight that should be having my baby. Baby. Man's desire for procreation trumps his will towards violence. Brilliant. It is good to be here, guys. I almost didn't make it out today. Full disclosure, I had diarrhea this morning. Yeah. Pretty sure it was all the diarrhea I ate last night. Had that diarrhea quesadilla from Baja Fresh. I didn't want to throw it out. I don't like to throw out food. Like, who am I to throw out food when there's people starving in my basement? You know what word isn't nearly as tasty as it sounds? Crematorium. You want to disappoint a 5-year-old real quick. Promise them a trip to the crematorium. I made that mistake with my little 5-year-old nephew. Told him we were going to meet Grandma there. I doubt he'll ever eat dairy again. And it doesn't help that the urn sizes are like it, love it, and gotta have it, right? The word cold stone sounds more like a place for dead people than crematorium. What is this ice cream death connection? Death by Chocolate's a really cute name for a flavor until you consider how many people die every year from type 2 diabetes. Death by Chocolate, put that on my cold stone. Speaking of death, I was driving today, and tell me if this is really disrespectful of me, you guys, but whenever you're like in the middle of a major metropolitan area and you see a big old cemetery right in the middle, do you think to yourself, like, we could have used that land for parking? Is that really uncool of me? I mean, it's just a bunch of dead bodies in the ground, right? Like, can't they go be dead in the county somewhere where real estate isn't at such a prime. Everybody's cool with gentrifying out all the minorities from downtown, but don't touch the bone, people. I mean, really, we could just convert cemeteries into parking lots as they are, right? They're gridded perfectly, you know? Now, don't forget, we parked in the Johansson family. Kill two birds with one headstone, you know? I'll probably just donate my body to science when I die, you know? I think that's a noble thing when you donate your body to science. And I think it's a very noble thing when serial killers donate a whole bunch of bodies to science. Because where would forensics be without serial killers, right? Yeah, exactly. And where would network television be right now without forensics? How many CSIs are we talking these days? You got your CSI Classic, right? CSI Miami, right? I can't believe it's not CSI, I think, right? CSI versus Predator, right? Versus To Catch a Predator. That'd be a crossover I would watch. I remember when I was a kid, whenever they do TV crossovers, it was always so exciting, you know? Like Urkel would show up on Full House. Remember that? Or like He-Man would show up on She-Ra. I remember they did one where Roseanne showed up on 2020. She did this whole bit about having major bipolar disorder. It was hilarious. I was like, what's next? Is Tim the Tool Man going to stop by to talk about the time he went to prison? I am dead inside. Anybody else here suffer from depression? Make some noise if you have a cold, dead nothing where your soul should be. I try to be a positive person, you know, clearly. I try to be the type of guy that sees the original lineup of Alice in Chains as half still alive instead of half dead, you know. But it's difficult for me because my brain will just twist everything so negatively. Like, for example, the other day I was singing that song, No Diggity, if I may make another 90s musical reference. You guys remember that song? By the Blackstreet Boys? I'm singing that song to myself. And I go to sing the lyrics out loud in the mirror like you do, you know? Like I'm pretending like I'm the lead singer. This is how they come out. I like the way you're worthless. No dignity. Self-doubt. Oh, that's definitely worthy of an applause break. Daylight savings time just happened. We rolled our clocks back an hour, right? It's great for depressed people. It's already getting colder, darker. Let's go ahead and make it midnight at 5 p.m. Make sure seasonal depression kicks off right on time. Like it's designed to weed out depressed people before spring. And when you're depressed, you always have that one friend who always tells you not to go on any depressants, you know? You know what I'm talking about? They'll be like, oh, that stuff's just going to turn you into some sort of emotionless zombie or a robot with no feelings. And I'm like, that sounds awesome. Sign me up for a whole lot of that. It's not just depression. Have an addictive personality. Anybody else have an addictive personality? Make some noise if you're going to cut back for real this time, baby. I swear. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I do have an addictive personality, but it's never for anything good, you know? Like, why can't I be one of those people that's like, I am addicted to success? I just don't feel right if I don't go to the gym 3 hours a day. Like, how awesome would that be to be a workaholic? You're telling me your drug of choice is going to work and doing a really good job? That's a problem for you? Like, you never see a workaholic out on the street like, sir, do you happen to have a spare task I could accelerate at? Sir, I will fillet you for an assignment right now. Don't give him any money, dearies. Just get invested in innovative new ideas that'll help mankind. Why don't you lose a job, you winner? Thank you. Yes. I do think if I were to choose one superpower, I'd probably go with China. I'm getting older, you guys. I just turned 35 a few weeks ago. Anybody else have a birthday this year? And some of you were saying, you might be saying, 35 isn't that old, Mike. Yeah, but if you've seen how little I've accomplished. My friend tried to comfort me. He was like, Mike, age ain't nothing but a number. And I was like, yeah, but it's a number indicative of how long you have until death. Your T-cell count ain't nothing but a number either. It's a very important number, though, is what I'm saying. I am old. I know I'm old because when I call someone, I still have to resist the urge to be like, I'm calling from a cellular phone. I know I'm old because when I think of the year 2000, it still kind of seems like the far-off future to me, you know? Like, I think of the year 2000 as flying cars and laser beams instead of rap metal and hanging Chad jokes. By the way, hanging Chads have never looked so good as they have in the past few weeks, right? Guys, I'm so old, I can remember when the History Channel made you feel smarter. Anybody else that old? I'm so old, I can remember when the History Channel played nothing but music videos 24/7. No, but seriously, have you tried watching the History Channel in the last few years? It's horrible, isn't it? It's like the pseudo-History Channel. I saw a show on there the other day where they were saying that aliens built the pyramids. You ever heard that theory before, that aliens must have built the pyramids because apparently it would be too difficult for ancient people to figure out how to stack blocks on each other? I almost feel like there's like a racist element in suggesting that ancient Africans couldn't have built the pyramids, you know? Because like Eurocentric people want to be all like, oh, what great inventions or technology or innovations ever came out of Africa? I don't know, standing upright, speaking, thinking. I mean, yeah, Europe invented the aqueduct and Asia invented gunpowder, but Africa invented the human being. Let's see, what else is going on? Did you guys hear Sylvester Stallone died? Oh, good, I didn't hear that either. I am sober. I don't drink, and I'll tell you that makes it a little awkward. Like when St. Patrick's Day rolls around, you know. And it's really shown me just how kind of offensive a holiday like that really kind of is, Like, the one day a year we celebrate Irish Americans, and the only thing we celebrate it with is drunkenness. Like, isn't that kind of negative? Like, you don't celebrate Thanksgiving by gifting each other with infected blankets. Celebrate the positives, right? Like, you don't celebrate Martin Luther King Day by cheating on your wife while the FBI listens in. Like, could you imagine if we celebrated Columbus Day by discovering with a treasure hunt where you discover stuff that already belongs to other people? Like, ooh, I found some candy. That's my candy. Yeah, well, I got a gun. Here's a blanket, though. I never understand that. Like, as politically correct as we are in our society, the two groups that it's totally okay to be completely insensitive towards are the Irish and the Native Americans, right? We still have football teams called the Fighting Irish, the Redskins. You wouldn't have a football team called the Overbearing Jewish Mothers or the Unfairly Large Penises, We didn't even come up with the term Native American until like 1994. Like, Columbus came over here 500 years ago, thought he was in India, started calling people Indians. We realized the mistake like 10 minutes later. And we don't get around to changing it until the second Mighty Ducks is in theaters. Like, I'm sorry, but if you come to my house, eat all my food, give my family smallpox, and force me to live in the worst part of my backyard, I expect you to know that my name is not Matt Morgan by at least year 300. That's all I'm saying. Speaking of holidays, Halloween just passed. Everybody have a good Halloween? Yeah? You know what my favorite thing is about Halloween? Is when Michael Myers stabs Jamie Lee Curtis. That was stupid. I actually went trick-or-treating this year. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that certainly deserves applause. It was fun, You got to do things for your inner child sometimes, right? Yeah, thank you. Of course, there was like one curmudgeonly person who couldn't get into it, and they're all like, what are you doing on my porch? You're way too old to be trick-or-treating. And I'm like, oh, come on, get in the spirit, And they're all like, but it's 3 a.m. and it's not even close to October. And Mike, you have to stop coming here. We broke up 3 years ago. Seriously, though, just a safety tip. I don't know if there's any parents who have kids that go trick-or-treating. Just always make sure you search through your kids' candy before they eat it, because there have been reports of madmen putting some questionable items in kids' bags, like Jesus pamphlets and toothbrushes, things like. Did you have that condescending neighbor when you were a kid that would give you something healthy on Halloween, like raisins? Yeah, what a buzzkill that guy was, right? Yeah. Like, is he handing out 12-step pamphlets on New Year's Eve, too? So you go around reminding all the stoners that 420 is also Hitler's birthday. Do we have any stoners in the house tonight? Anybody? Any marijuana? You can tell. I'm not a cop. You can tell me. Decriminalized in Maryland now, right? Yeah, you happy about that? Yeah. Now that it's decriminalized, do you have to still pretend like you're buying a tobacco pipe? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like when you go to buy like a bong or something to smoke pot out of, you have to be like, I'll take one tobacco pipe. Has anybody ever smoked tobacco out of a tobacco pipe and the history of tobacco pipes? You ever go out on a smoke break at work and somebody pulls out a 3-foot bong? Covered in Grateful Dead bears and marijuana leaves. No, you've never seen that because that would kill you. You'd be dead. Oh, man. I guess the worst part about being a skeleton is that everyone thinks you're smiling all the time. You ever notice how sometimes people will say things, but they won't say what they actually mean? But what they mean to say kind of seeps through in like a Freudian type of way. You know what I'm talking about? Like when someone says, now I'm not a racist, but... I feel like what they mean to say is Mike Moran is a repressed homosexual, you know? Or like... Or another example, when someone says, now I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for a friend of mine. Obviously, what they're meaning, what's struggling to come out is Mike Moran is a repressed homosexual, right? Or recently, a friend of mine came up to me and he goes, Mike, I think sometimes you sort of joke about things on stage that because you can't face up to them in real life, you know, because you kind of just hear what you want to hear. And I think what he meant to say was Mike Moran is the straightest man I know. No, I did actually get into an argument recently with a homophobic person. And the argument they were giving me was they were saying that homosexuality is wrong because it's unnatural. You ever heard anybody say that before? We're the only animals in the animal kingdom that practice homosexuality. And I said to him, well, that's a fine point. Now here's my rebuttal. And I threw my own feces at him. And they ate his young. Probably just grow up to be jerks anyway, you know? You know, that's the thing with homophobia. It's like there's no good arguments for it, right? Like there's, all right, it's unnatural, okay? Well, so is everything that doesn't suck, right? And the only other argument they have is, and say this one with me if you can, God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Thank you. And I question if that's converted anyone. Was there ever anybody who was like totally cool with gay people and then they saw that bumper sticker and they're, well, biblically accurate and it rhymes. I am sold from now on. Consider me a bigot. And is that what homophobic people think that gay people want to do? Just rewrite everything but make it more gay, you know? Like, all right, Adam and Eve is now Adam and Steve. This year we will be celebrating New Year's, Steve. Steve McQueen, you are now Queen McSteve. Forever and ever, gay men. Like they're just George Lucasing history, except for in their version of Star Wars, all the characters are C-3PO. Oh, man. You know what phrase I heard somebody say recently that I hadn't heard in a while? It is what it is. Isn't that the most condescending? Like, do people really think I'm so stupid that I don't understand that things are what they are? Well, Mike, it is what it is. It is? I thought it is what it is not. No wonder I'm so confused about the most basic laws of physical existence. As though they're no longer teaching kids in school that things are what they are. You see the shape with 3 sides, class? That's a coincidence. 2 + 2 equals yesterday. Jenny McCarthy knows a thing or two about autism. My doctor asked if my prescription for Adderall is helping. And I said, well, I have been making a lot more money from college kids, so yes. Yes, it has. Oh, man. It's an impression I've been working on for about 5 years. Yeah, it didn't work then, and I haven't changed it. But I'm kind of hoping the world's changed, you know? Thank you. This is the server with a weak existential sense of self. All right? So how are we doing? Are we enjoying everything? Actually, we're not happy with the mozzarella sticks. What do we mean we are not happy? We feel happy. How can we be both happy and unhappy at the same time and in the same context? Have we gone mad? Perhaps we should kill for Jesus. Thank you. That was the server with a weak existential sense of self. Guys, I know I'm getting old because I'm starting to complain about the prices of things, you know? Like the price of movies, is that not kind of getting out of control? Are you with me on this? It's like $12 for a ticket. It's even more if you want 3D because apparently we're paying by the dimension now. I have noticed, though, they will let you watch the movie in 1D for free if you want to just stare at the posters in the lobby. They won't charge you for that. Do you guys know the 3D glasses will actually work, like in real life outside of the theater? The real world's in 3D, guys. That's why it's... For every joke you don't get, I'm going to remove an article of clothing. An article of that guy's clothing. No, the price of movies is getting out of control, but you gotta be mindful who you blame for stuff like that, right? Because like when I was a teenager, I worked at a couple movie theaters, and people would get angry with me over the price of the ticket, as though awkward, greasy 17-year-old Mike Moran had any pull in the movie industry whatsoever, you know, like all the heads of all the major movie studios are sitting around, so we all agree we should provide the public with the best possible product at the lowest possible price. But of course, the final vote goes to a greasy 17-year-old who spends all day dreaming about starting a new metal band called Fallen. And then I burst into the room like the Joker in The Dark Knight, you know? Start handing out copies of Atlas Shrugged. Oh, capitalism! I never even thought about this before. I never understood that when I was young and I'd work at these corporate chains and adults would like get angry with me for stuff that I had obviously nothing to do with, you know? Like, I never do that as an adult. Like, I'd never think to, like, go up to somebody working at an Exxon station and be like, hey, thanks for all those dead seals, jerk. You know what I mean? Like, I'd never go up to somebody working at a Ford dealership and be like, I don't care what Henry Ford says. The protocols of the elders of Zion are an anti-Semitic forgery. There is no Jewish conspiracy for world domination, sir. I just want to sell you a Taurus. Like, I would never go up to some poor schlub working at McDonald's and be like, hey, childhood obesity. Hope you're loving it. You know what I mean? I do think that is a little condescending how McDonald's, instead of a tip jar, they have like a donations box to help the poor. Like, wouldn't a tip jar accomplish the same goal? I'll tell you though, that is the best when you get to see an adult just lose it in public over something stupid, isn't it? It's kind of a dying phenomenon now that you never know when your infantile outburst is going to become a viral meme. But it's even better when it's like something with a funny name, you know, like, my Rooty Tooty is neither fresh nor fruity. My moons are barely over my hammy. I demand to speak to Colonel Sanders. Mayor McCheese is getting a call from me in the morning. Let's see. Can I tell you an embarrassing story? This is really embarrassing. Can I get this off? You guys won't tell anybody, right? You seem trustworthy. I recently sent an intimate text message to my mom that was meant for my girlfriend. Yeah, their names are like right next to each other on my list of contacts. Yeah. So now my mom thinks I love her. My girlfriend thinks I'm still resentful that she wasn't at my third grade piano recital. I don't have any kids. I'm a big kid. I do have 2 little nephews, though. My sister has 2 little boys. And this is kind of bothering me. They're both under 5 years old. She's already had cosmetic surgery performed on both of them. Can you believe that? She had them circumcised. Which you're all totally cool with, right? Like, if I just said nose job or something, you'd be like, oh my God, call Child Protective Services. Thankfully, she just had the tips of their penises sliced off by a Catholic priest, not even a doctor. And everybody's fine with that, you know? Like, my sister isn't even religious. You know what reason she gave for having her kids circumcised? She said it's cleaner that way. It's cleaner. And I'm thinking, like, how lazy is that? You can't take 2 seconds to clean half of an inch of skin, or in my case, 1/8 of an inch of skin. I asked my mom why she had me circumcised. She said it was for aesthetic reasons. Looks better that way. Which is really comforting, knowing that my mom was worried about what my penis was going to look like. Like, check it out, ladies, care of my mom. Got it trimmed up just right for you. She even carved Love Mom into the side. Guys, if you like what you saw tonight, do yourself a favor. Go to YouTube, look up Jim Gaffigan. He does it way better. No, thank you so much for coming out tonight, everybody. Give it up for all the comedians you saw tonight. Give it up for Eric. You guys are making my dreams come true. Thank you. I love you.
ladies and gentlemen.